Hello and welcome everyone. As I mentioned in the thumbnail, I'm not an old school fan of the Final Fantasy franchise. That does not mean that I don't appreciate it. Actually, one of the times I had the most fun playing a game was last year when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake, so I was curious to know if Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion would hold up to my expectation. I prepared some footage from the beginning of the game in order not to spoil any of the story further in. Without wasting any more time, let's get to it. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion has been remastered. Let's not get too carried away. While it may not reach the same level as Final Fantasy VII Remake in terms of visuals, it does a decent job of updating the original PSP version. This review will delve into how Crisis Core holds up in today's gaming landscape. If you're a die-hard fan eagerly awaiting this remaster, you can expect a satisfactory treatment. From what I could see, a large portion of the game closely mirrors the original. I didn't catch any hidden Easter eggs or nods to the remake, but they might have slipped by me. The main character's English voice acting is decent, but the supporting cast performances can be cringe-worthy. There were moments where I didn't even bother letting them finish their lines if I had already read the text. Switching to Japanese audio is always an alternative. I had an amazing experience using a controller, navigating through the battlefield within the boundaries set by either imaginary lines or the environment was effortless, as Zack effortlessly gravitated towards his target. While locking on isn't mandatory, every player will have their own preference. The game's AI excels at targeting the closest enemy, even if they're not in view. Initially, I struggled with the camera, but eventually got the hang of it by familiarizing myself with the right stick on the controller. Combat is enjoyable, but it could use a bit more complexity. Players are encouraged to utilize materia to take down enemies, as finishing a fight without abilities, yellow materia, or magic, green materia, rewards you with a percentage of points based on how many enemies you defeated that way. You can equip 4 to 6 materia to boost stats, purple materia, or provide support, blue materia, for Zack's magic. When you have materia equipped, just hold a shoulder button, hit one of the map buttons to activate it. It's pretty straightforward. There are also extra rewards for avoiding damage, blocking every hit, and wrapping up with limit breaks or summons. Limit breaks are a common occurrence when the digital mind wave, the DMW, spins in the top corner, resembling a slot machine. It might seem complex initially, but it actually spins automatically without any player intervention. Just have some faith that it's working its magic and hope for bonuses regularly. Certain number combinations can make magic or ability based actions free, while others can grant Zack additional benefits, such as immunity to stagger or even complete damage negation. If 3 identical characters' portraits align, Zack can unleash a limit break unique to that character. Typically, those limit breaks inflict damage. Once the player obtains summon material, the DMW might unveil a summon, like Ifrit, to be used similar to a limit break. Apart from that, players are expected to engage in combat as usual, while the DMW bestows random buffs. Remember to like and subscribe for more content on new and already existing games. It really helps me a lot to provide you with more and better content. Players can combine materia outside of battles, similar to a classic alchemy system, in the order to obtain rare skills or enhanced abilities. Items based on stats can be utilized to aid in fusion, allowing players to gain stat boosts such as increased HP or magic damage, although accessories are the only items that can be equipped in the game. Materia is where players will find the most significant stat boosts rather than from accessories. Accessories are generally more powerful for providing immunities or elemental affinities. Combining materia can be a real hassle, and I really wish the interface was more user-friendly. By the time I finished the game, I had tons of materia, some fully leveled and some not. I found myself scrolling forever just to find out how my newly mastered materia worked, with all the random junk I had picked up along the way. When it comes to vendor trash, Crisis Core really bows on the side missions that players can tackle to snag more pointless items. I put missions in quotes because they're basically just virtual spaces where you wander through a handful of different areas that all look the same, with hallways blocked off by invisible barriers. For instance, if I'm exploring an old Shinra reactor, a red line might stop me from going left, making me go right instead. The next time I'm in that reactor, the layout is identical, but this time I might have to head left. Each mission has a few treasure chests to find, but most of the time they just hold some useless accessory or a weak potion. So the solution seems obvious, right? Just skip to the chest. But occasionally though, it's pretty rare they might actually have something worthwhile. Still, the maps are just dull hallways packed with random encounters at every turn. I didn't keep track, but there can't be more than 20 different enemy types, and the names, they don't even change. Some tougher enemies just get a 2 tacked on the end to their names. At the end of each mission, you'll find the main target, which isn't really tougher than the other enemies you faced. Once you take them out, you get your reward, but it's usually just junk you can sell. At least you know what the reward is right from the start, so you'd think it makes sense to only go for the missions with good rewards, right? The catch is, to unlock those better rewards, you have to finish earlier missions first. When you can kick off the game, Zack has 2 accessory swords, but you can earn more by completing missions. You can also snag summon material this way. Unfortunately, Crisis Core throws a ton of really dull missions your way, and while I was playing on normal mode, I hit a wall on the 6th tier of missions and had to give up. Players have the option to select either hard or normal difficulty when beginning the game. I personally thought that hard provided a decent challenge throughout most of the game, except for the final section. If you're thinking about starting with normal and then switching to hard for a new game plus, keep in mind that mission progress and certain key features won't transfer over. For what I've seen, the main distinction between the 2 difficulty levels is just the numbers: damage, health, defensive stats, and so on. I feel like the gameplay is a bit outdated. The whole running around finding enemies thing reminds me of Remake, but it's not as engaging or immersive. The combat is fast-paced and fun, but it falls short of what we expect nowadays. I get that it's a remaster and not complete overhaul, but a few tweaks here and there wouldn't hurt. At the very least, they could have made the grinding less repetitive. The story of Crisis Core is what draws a lot of people in. Zack Fair is a second-class soldier who's learning the ropes from NGO, a first-class. NGO and Genesis climbed the ranks together and became close pals with Sephiroth, the iconic soldier. At this point, Shinra is in a conflict with Wutai over the right to set up a reactor and tap into the live stream's energy for everyday use. With Genesis gone AWOL, Zack gets sent to Wutai to help out, but as usual, things aren't straightforward, and we run into clones that look like Genesis battling Shinra troops. During a chaotic escape, NGO vanishes while trying to help Zack rescue the soldier director. With 2 soldiers unaccounted for, Zack has to rise to the occasion and prove himself. Sure, he's definitely ready for the challenge and starts to bond with the Turks, a group of specialized Shinra agents who are just as skilled as soldier members in combat, but have a bit more finesse when it comes to handling delicate situations. Players will have the chance to explore the entertainment districts, where they can learn about the epic poem Loveless and interact with the wealthier citizens living on top of Midgar's plate. Zack might also venture into the sectors below the plate, but a large portion of the game will take place in Shinra HQ, Sector 8, the Entertainment District, and out in the field. Considering this isn't a main installment in the Final Fantasy series, Crisis Core is relatively short, lasting around 20 to 30 hours depending on how much players are willing to engage in the side quests. Because of this, the story progresses quickly. However, one downside is that major events and character developments may not resonate as strongly as the developers intended. I get that Zack is dealing with loss and inner turmoil, but without enough focus on each character, I don't feel as connected to them as he does. Consequently, these emotional moments don't leave the impact I was expecting, except for the ending. Fans of the series will be thrilled to see that what life outside Midgar will be like in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but I can't help but feel I've spoiled it for myself. The visuals don't quite measure up to remake, and Crisis Core feels like a watered-down version of what we're getting. What used to be an awe-inspiring for me has turned out into a bit of a letdown. I now have a glimpse of what certain towns or location will look like, and while I'm sure they'll be much better in Rebirth, some of the magic might be lost despite all my concerns. It would be truly exciting for some players to see those beloved locations brought to life. I just wanted to share my personal thoughts and experiences on this because I'm not sure I'm the only one feeling this way. Crisis Core's remaster is a great teaser for the next chapter in Final Fantasy VII Remake series, but it's definitely not, has shortcomings. I had a good time with it, and I think Square Enix did a smart job for refreshing the story, but it could have used some real updates instead of just a visual upgrade. If you're new to Crisis Core and curious about the hype, this is the version to go for. But keep in mind, it's a game from 15 years back. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a comment if you want more information on another specific title, and see you next time. Bye bye.